Here's a fun little project for you about running a milling machine. Now, a milling machine has a cutter that turns round and round and round very fast. And there's a block of material. And now you can imagine this block might be 1 inch thick or 2 inch thick. But we don't know how thick it is in this one because I'm looking straight down on it. And that's what we're going to do at first. We're not going to worry about thickness yet until we're pretty good at machining thin stuff. And there's a few things that happen on a mill. There are X and Y motions. Now watch, this is going to move right here when I press my X button. That dot is my 0, 0 spot. If I can get back to it, you'll see that I'm very close to 0, 0. I can slow down on my fast travel to creep up on it and try to get right to 0, 0. Oh, I got it. So right now, the very center of my milling cutter is right on 0, 0. And these are typical controls. I've got a speed control that tells me how fast my fast travel is. Okay, I have something that tells me where the center of my tool is. I've got a tool diameter that I can change. Now, this is really interesting. These are in millimeters. These are in inches. Inches, 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 inches. This happens a lot too, where lots of parts of it are in inches and millimeters if you have a manual mill. So to make this thing go fast travel, I click here and then I can go zip, zip, and it moves really fast. And I can adjust how fast my fast travel is. And that's usually something you can do on a mill. And I suggest you go look and see what mills are like. Now, I can measure this block. And what it's going to do is it's going to measure from where the lines cross the block. So this is my Y direction. So the distance across there will be my Y dimension. And the distance across here will be my X dimension. So let me measure the part. Measure. It's 3.9370 from here to here. And 3.970 from here to here. This is up here just so that you can remember. Let's say you're supposed to make a part that's 3.75 by 3.75. Well, you're going to have to cut away part of this block to get to that. And that's what this game is all about. So I'm going to go back to my 15 millimeter cutter. I'm going to get over close. And I'm going to turn my machine tool on. Power on. Now this is really turning now. And I'm in slow travel mode now. When you're cutting, you can't go really fast. I'm cutting a piece of metal, but I'm going to bring it up to full speed on cutting. And that's about all the faster it goes. And you can do a full cut. A mill does work, but usually you cut in less than half of the diameter of this thing. But look, it's cutting away. It's cutting away. And up in the upper left, you can see where the center of the tool is compared to that green dot. Okay, so that's kind of cool. I'm going to keep cutting until I get all the way across, and then I'm going to remeasure my part. And your job this week is just to play with this thing and make sure you can make it go and learn about it and find out how these measurements work. Next week, I'm going to actually ask you to make a part of a certain size, just as if you were to work on a mill. And when I worked in a machine shop as an engineer, the first thing I had to do is go learn how to use the mill because the machinist got all mad at me for designing things that couldn't get made. So I had to go learn how to use a mill, and this is pretty close. Okay, so there I go. I've run it. Let me measure now. I'm going to re-click my measure button. Measure. Oh, 3.61. I took off too much. I wanted it to be 3.75, and now I've got 3.61. There is no way to put the material back on other than throwing away this part and getting a new one. I just scrapped a block of metal, or whatever this is a block of. I took off too much. So that's something that you'll learn to try not to do. It's a problem. But then let's just say I want to cut some on this side and see what I get on this one. So look, there's things you're going to learn about doing, of reading these tool centers and looking at your tool diameters and looking at your last measured. You'll probably get that figured out pretty quick. But I'm going to run another little cut here up the side. And as soon as I get past the line, remember it measures across that line. It measures from line to line. So I'm just going to do a little bit of measure. I'm just going to do a little bit more cutting. And you can see I'm just cruising along, cruising along, cruising along. I'm just watching that mill cut away, cut the material. There's tons more to learn about milling than what we're going to do here. This is truly SOS, start out simple. I'm just going to make some straight cuts. That's all there is to it. So there, I've made my cut. Let me get my measurement in the X direction. Measure. Okay, so look, 3.8294. It's still too big. So if I want to, I can move over some amount to get that edge right to the 3.75. I don't care what numbers you get now, that's fine. But check this out too. If I want to prove where I'm at, I can do a capture and it downloads a picture for me. Puts a picture, and for me, it goes to wherever you download stuff. So it probably goes to your download folder. So you can get your pictures as you go of what you do. And so I can go back onto faster. Now check this out. I can cut stuff out of the middle too. Okay. And you can sort of do that with a mill. You couldn't get, well, you could. It would just be a hard cut to make. But you can do stuff like this with a mill. And so as we go through the semester, I'm going to ask you to do more and more things. And by the time we're done with the semester, you're going to sort of know what it takes. Now, if I had been paying attention to my numbers better, I'd be able to make a really nice box in the middle here. But I don't know where I went to, so I'm going to have to kind of like see how it is. And see, I think I came pretty close by I. Yeah, not bad. There we go. So now I'll turn my power off, go to fast travel, get out of there. And look, I made a thing in the middle. So this is for you to practice with. This week, where it says learn the basics of machining, all I want you to do is go to this file, this simulator, make sure that you know what fast travel does, how to set the speed for your fast travel, how to re-zero your 0 point. Just press the Z button. Now my tools are back at 0. That's a super, super critical thing to know how to do in relation to doing your measurements and getting your dimensions right. Super, super critical to be able to know how to re-zero your tool center. And that's fine. And then you can play around with changing your tool diameters as you go. All right? So that's it. That's what I want you to do this week. Play around, take some sort of a capture to show that you've done some stuff and put that on your thing. And then if you want to do some descriptions, that's good.